montage of us reading and pulling books off the shelves.
Yeah.
Typing furiously.
It turns out the librarian was that young man that beat me up. Oh no!
Oh my god!
Yeah, so I'm going to just spend the next 30 minutes just describing you guys turning pages. That's
I'm all ears.
Yeah, so I mean, no, you guys go in. Stonewall Library, Stonewall County Library. It's not a big place. It's kind of around the courthouse area, but like not like, you know, around like the center of town and stuff, but like not. We're all from Blue Ridge. It's not like in Blue Ridge where it's attached to the courthouse. I always thought that was weird. I always thought that was kind of weird. But,
I
get it, but it's kind of
check a book out.
Yeah, it's you know, you go to your court hearing. Now let's go listen to the reading of Curious George.
Makes it better.
It's like I get it.
Make a whole day of it.
But you know, it's a little ways off. It's basically just like a very small, like it's 2 stories, but you know, it's one of those things. It's still not a very big kind of 2-story kind of thing. And like most of the stuff is kept like on the ground floor. It's a small town library. But yeah, you guys go in. You see, like, you know, when you enter, there's like a few little kind of push shelves of you know, books for donation. You know, there's like a shelf, you know, if you want to donate a book to the library. There's a shelf if you just, you know, if you want to take a book. It's mostly like not sex novels, but you know, like still kind of like, you know, it's more implied sex kind of stuff, like Dan Brown, that kind of stuff. And Frank, he goes, man, it's been a while since I've been in here. They changed it a lot.
Yeah, they have to start peeling in new ways with, you know, the internet and everything. So yeah, I used to come here a lot as a kid.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you know, you look over. There's like a bunch of tables kind of strung together, a bunch of computers strung up. It's mostly older people, and like they're either older people like Frank and Peter's age and a little bit older, to like little kids, all looking at hardcore pornography. No. But no, you know, just
safe searches off
with no headphones.
Yeah, it's really uncomfortable, but no one's batting an eye. No,
I remember why I don't come here anymore.
Definitely, it all makes sense. It's not my
idea. I mean,
you do you.
But you know, the children's corner, it's very visible. You know, you see, like, you know, for whatever reason, when I think of like children's books, I think of like a yellow color. I don't know
George.
Why. Yeah, like I want to say Curious George, but I also want to say like yellow is really eye-catching, and most things designed for kids are eye-catching. But it's that kind of thing. Like you can really.
All the Hardy Boys books, I think, was like yellow for a while or something. There were some of those like series.
I know
of
the
books.
Nancy Drew ones were.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but I mean, but you know, I mean, it's, you know, I was holding up like graphic novels earlier. They're kids' books. You know, they're this thin, and that, you know, they're that big and that thin, except they don't contain the stuff that Transmetropolitan does. You know, typical kids' book stuff. But yeah, so Frank, he looks over at Peter and he's like, so where y'all think we need to start? Like, happen, you know, go to the Dewey Decimal System and look up Sasquatches or Skunkies?
No, that's a good guess, but no. I think what we need are genealogical histories of the county and maps.
Also, you know, I think it would be worthwhile to look at those, you know, the giant notebooks they have full of newspapers. And I don't know if y'all ever went to the library in Blue Ridge and saw this, but literally, like, they have like volumes of like old newspaper clippings that are like this big, red bound, and you can like flip through them. So that's what I'm imagining, just for flavor.
Also, there's like census records you can get. I remember looking at those, like at the FCHS library. So yeah. So
something like that. So
yeah, all kinds of stuff.
I feel like stuff like that. I love what you said, Peter. I think with the newspapers are a good resource. So I think we should, you know, divide and conquer.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do an extended roll. The goal is 10 successes. Okay. Who is going to be the primary researcher?
This is Peter's wheelhouse.
Yeah, I mean, research is kind of my whole deal. So
you know what? No, we'll kick it up to 15, considering some of the stuff we're going back to, and it's probably going to take a little bit. Peter, we're going to have you roll intelligence and academics.
Hell yes.
Right, there's your strongest.
They're pretty good.
Do you have a specialty? Yeah. Do you have a specialty in academics?
I do not.
Okay, that's fine. Excuse me, Peter, and you're doing that. Beryl and Jeb, you guys are going to roll. It's going to have to be intelligence, but if you want to pick any of the mental stuff, maybe the social stuff, depending on what you're wanting to, if you can justify any of the stuff. And, we'll do the thing where you're throwing, all your successes will be thrown into his pot.
Intimidate the kids in the kids' corner.
What do you know about the Thomases, you little fucking shit?
I like caterpillars.
I like turtles.
No, wrong.
That video is still really funny to me, by the way. I like turtles.
There's something about it. Yeah.
This is a dumb kid. I like turtles. Anyway, sorry.
No,
investigation.
So, what now? What
investigation and intelligence is what I'm going to use.
Okay, hold on a sec.
Most straightforward.
And yeah,
the mentals that make sense are investigation or occult, but I don't know if occult really makes. I guess I'll roll occult with the thing, the idea that Jeb's going to be looking through like newspapers or census or like to like notice anything that might like stick out. Something that's beyond the normal.
That makes perfect sense, and especially considering it's a small town in the mountains. They have like folklore books. I know Garrett's going to get a kick out of this. For the longest time, the local library in Blue Ridge had Jack Tales books. Okay, Sam. So they're like these. They're folk tales, and they all dealt with a guy named Jack, and it was always like some crazy kind of like Appalachia.
Were the Brer Rabbit stories from Jack Tales?
No,
they were not.
That
was on Remus.
Yeah, Jack Tales was like Jack and the Giant Slayer. Jack catches death in his sack. I have it on my shelf if you want me to go get it. I can just.
Always impressed, Garrett. Always impressed. I will just go get it. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Jack Tale.
It's just
reading him
Peter. You know what? If you want to do it in character, we can make its own separate playlist.
Give that man a bonus.
You can probably do it.
I can do the voices. Nickety Knack, get in my sack, Death.
God damn, that takes me back.
Nickety Knack, get in my sack. That's how you trap death.
Okay.
Wow.
What elementary school? Sorry, I'm off on a slight tangent, but that's our session. What teacher was it that read those? Miss
Great teacher.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. So, anywho, Naskashi. So you're rolling intelligence and occult, right?
Yep. And I got nothing. No
okay. And Beryl, what are you rolling?
I got
2
successes.
Okay. So Peter, your goal is 15. There's some stuff I'm going to be doing on my end. If you want to make a roll plus and add 2 dice.
Okay. And my goal is a total of 15 numbers, or right?
15 total victories, but it's going to take several rolls probably.
Okay,
I mean,
gotcha.
assuming
right.
you really rock this one.
I mean, 15 successes off of 8 dice. I'll be impressed.
Lots of 10s. Rolling
Magic really does exist.
That's 3 successes. One of them's a 10. Let me re-roll that. Now, 3 successes.
Okay. Oh,
not bad starting.
Yeah, you got a little bit of ground on you. So, it's the kind of thing, you're plucking through.
Wait, got a little ground on us. Like, there's this just one kind of older guy who's getting the same books we are. It's just furious.
Well, I'll say this. There is a, I mean, this is the kind of thing where, like, there's a time is passing.
I understand.
We'll say, like, we'll say this is the kind of thing that, it's probably going to take, the span of maybe a couple of days or something like that. Kind of nebulous kind of stuff. But you uncover a few things. You do uncover a record of, through a little bit of digging, you do find that there was, in fact, a somewhat recluse, like not entirely reclusive family known as the Thomases that mostly kind of stayed off in the woods. They, farmers kind of stuff, didn't really get, didn't really like interact too much, but, you haven't found any like birth records or anything like that. All right, everybody do the rolls again.
Two success.
Nice.
All right, throw 3 in your pile, Garrett, and roll them out.
Okay. Only 1 success of all that, but it is a 10. Nope, just 1 success.
Yeah, not a whole lot of progress, in the following little bit. Pretty much, if anything, Jeb, Jeb, you're kind of looking around at one point, your dad's like, the more I think on it, I think like for a little bit there, I think there was one that maybe ran like an auto parts store. You're just finding out that they did have some kind of presence there, but, not a whole lot of knowledge gained. All right, next little set of rules. Same as the verse. Until I run out of flavor text.
1 success.
Nothing.
All right, I'll make this count. Well, I kind of made it count. I've got 2 successes.
That's good. Yeah. Well, I only gave you 1. Beryl gave you none. That's pretty good. Very good. How dare you?
I know I'm doing it bad.
So you do eventually uncover a little bit on the birth records. It took a little bit of digging because it's the kind of thing you get the feeling that either maybe there was like some kind of fire or water damage. Some of the records back in like the 50s and the 60s are just kind of lost or ruined. But you do find that this Freddie Thomas guy, it looks like he's in his 60s and it's 2020, but it appears that he might have been born in like the 50s. Which, I did say he looks good for his age, but it's still very much he appears as 60, and that gives him like easily an extra decade.
Yeah.
Janet and Eustace. The other thing is you do find that he apparently had 2 sisters named Margaret and Madeline and a brother named Nathaniel.
All right.
And the little kids were born, I'm not going to say the dates are terribly important, but we'll say they're born in the early 60s. Okay. Next roll. Same thing as everybody else is doing.
All right, 1, but it's a 10. All right, 2 successes.
All right.
Got nothing.
That's fine.
Yeah, it is okay. I had none my first.
3 successes, but 2 of them are 10s.
Oh yeah, come on, hot dice.
Let's see what I can do with that. No success. So 3 successes.
Still good.
Still good. So this is mostly Beryl kind of scoping out, bouncing between the library and the records over around the courthouse area. You found a little bit more of weirdly enough, information on the area around Boxcar Ridge, roughly around where the tent is, where the where you guys found the cabin and the Skunk Ape Temple. There have been tent revivals there, like off and on, like roughly maybe like once a decade, going back as far as like the town records of like 1906.
Okay, that's kind of wild.
Okay.
And pretty much around in and around that area, maybe like coming through once a decade, you find it in like old newspapers. You start to notice a bit of a pattern all around Boxcar Ridge.
This is the nexus of all this stuff. Okay,
all right. Possibly one of the last couple of groups of rolls.
I got nothing for you, buddy. I'm sorry. That was real bad.
I got 2 this time. So trade off. Here we go.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Well, I hate to tell you, but Peter just took a big old fart on that one.
Peter overslept.
Yeah. You're researched out right now. You need to recharge.
So due to some of the stuff on my end, we're going to say that you've pretty much taxed all that you like. You feel like you're kind of starting to go in circles at this point. Like you don't, maybe you guys have spent too many hours or like consecutive days in the library, but it's starting to get like taxing. Think the last couple of weeks leading up to finals.
The librarian's not thrilled that Peter's taken the happy reading caterpillar board and has just like put up string and pictures and is still circling that image of the deer standing on 2 legs.
Oh my god! Always, every board has the deer.
So one thing, minor tangent. One thing I hate in movies is when they go to the library and they find out all the key information basically the moment they walk into the fucking room.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's just like, these writers went to college. They know how research works.
Right?
I mean, like, granted, that's less exciting, but you can intersperse that, like, maybe they're, and then on the last day they find the key thing. Instead, it's just like, I'm going to sit down with this one book. Oh, the Killer Clown of Derry has been here for years, and all these pictures in this one book. I'm looking.
And it's the only old book in the library that I just somehow found automatically.
And I opened exactly to the right page. Yep.
But to their credit, that was also the only book with moving pictures.
This is true. It
was the only one that quite literally sang to me as I walked down the aisle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of feel like your mental fortitude is just bleh. Your brain is jelly at this point, looking up like old, trying to find out old shit about the fucking, Thomases. So towards like the middle of the week, Frank's like, I mean, I'm assuming 2 of you went to college. I know Jeb, he took a few local classes at the community college and all, but like, I mean, is your brain supposed to feel like this scrambled at this point?
Hey, man. Yeah. We've been at it.
Yes.
That's how it do.
So, I mean, like, so what all do we think we know? Who can summarize this up? I'm kind of saying half in character, half not.
Well, we have names of the siblings. We have learned that this big tent revival type thing has been happening since the early aughts.
2000?
The 19 aughts.
The earlier 19 aughts.
Oh, okay.
For a little over a century. About every
decade. Very tired, Frank. I've ruined that caterpillar calendar like Very.
He's like, yeah, no. It's like I got new respect for those bookworms at the school. Like my brain hurts.
It's just a different skill set, man. Like,
we've also learned that the Reverend was born. What his birth certificate says compared to the way the man looks. Either he has inherited the greatest genetics on the planet, or there's something a bit off in his current appearance.
I mean, I know everything's, potentially supernatural, but it could literally be, that he just had a, typo on that. Oh. No, not that. I was saying typo on his, his birth certificate. I'm just saying, just trying to keep things in the realm of, the normal. It's possible that it could be something.
That his siblings were born in the 60s.
That's true. So, that's true. Yeah, it's unlikely that all of them have their.
And we also know from my assault a couple of days ago that somehow Peter hasn't mentioned that they found his dropped card. That somehow they know I've either been in that cabin or the skunk ape temple.
Right. Well, see, that's what I was thinking about. If that revival's been happening for decades, then is there always been some sort of skunk ape temple? Has there always been some sort of cryptid, or is this cryptid thing, something new that's happened? Is it something that's involving directly to Thomas, or is it inherent in all the temple or in all the revivals? Like, are those two correlated, or is the temple and Thomas correlated?
So I'm going to say half in character and half in not. I feel like, if we made maybe one final Hail Mary on a chance roll, maybe we might be able to pull something out if somebody wants to make that roll.
Now, Frank, what the hell is a chance roll?
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
He's like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I can't control the words coming out of my mouth. And light starts spewing out of his eyes.
Oh, no.
No, none of that happens.
These violent delights have violent ends.
Well, I feel like that would be.
I mean, honestly, if you guys wanted to make one final kind of Hail Mary kind of thing, you could do that, but equal chance of dramatic failure as a success.
I don't know. We haven't had excitement in a while.
Dramatic failure got Peter assaulted, so he doesn't want to take that chance.
Jeb wants to risk it.
Okay, yeah, sure. Make a roll, Jeb. We're going to assume that you're still digging in on a cult, but yeah, it's for purposes it's going to be a cult, but yeah, chance die.
I was hoping to make it where we actually all kind of broke up and left, and then Jeb broke into the library later in the night to be like, I swear I need to look at one more book.
I feel like I'm just so close.
Book reading.
It's good. No, just cue literally frame by frame Harry breaking into the restricted section at Hogwarts. It's literally just goes directly to that.
You break in the forbidden book section of the Stonewall library.
Yeah. But literally just bad Photoshop over anything that says Hogwarts and it just says Stonewall. Okay, one chance die.
You got this. You got it.
Wait. No, it is. Okay, sorry, I got a 0, so that's a 10. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Always pause no, yes, no, yes.
Your face change one way or the other was amazing.
That was
okay, so here's the thing. It's still you still get to re-roll it. You have to roll another 0, but there is a minuscule chance that you can get an exceptional success on this. So
the preacher just walks in, explains the entire plot.
Okay. Nope.
That was asking too much.
Okay, no. So because if you manage to cook something, I could cook something up on that. So
he unmasked the preacher. It was Old Man Jenkins. He was after uranium. Was in that forest the whole time.
So here's the thing. Going with that information that Beryl found about the the fact that there seems to have been a tent revival roughly once a decade since early 1900s. You take that and you start looking at newspaper clippings and stuff like that from around roughly that that year whenever one would pop up, and you start to notice there weird little sightings that's reported in like essentially like the editorials and stuff like that. Not necessarily, giant hairy men or anything like that, but you tend to hear things like people talking about like unusually large deer, or like a really big bear, or like snakes that move in weird ways, or strange little flying animals. Nothing like overly aggressive, but it seems to be like the weird kind of cultural filler story essentially. There always seems to be one roughly around the time that or roughly around the time period that the for the most part, whenever the revival tent comes through.
So I imagine Jeb hung back just a little bit to like read this. Like, the library's about to close. And he's like, yeah, I'll just literally stay till close.
Yeah. Old lady Featherbottom, she comes in, she's like, you need to get the fuck out of here, she says. Like, throws a book at your forehead.
Old lady Featherbottom has nothing to do with the library. She just came in and did that.
Very mean.
She's just a very mean woman.
Just heads up in the library.
Old woman.
Oh, that was so stupid it tickled me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Leaf Featherbottom's a little hag.
Like the corner catches you right between the eye. You take 2 aggravated damage.
Jeb loses it, just murders her. The end. Jeb's in prison.
Roll for integrity now.
So I imagine Jeb finds this, and he like literally like is so excited he starts taking the news clipping out the library. The library's like, no. Jeb takes a quick photo of it, and then I guess he's gonna try to like call them if they've already left or whatnot, and try to like convey that they most definitely are related.
Okay. So all right. So I imagine at some point you guys do like a teleconference call or something, and Frank, he's sitting at your house. You got it on speaker, Jeb, and he's like, so what's the next step, guys?
I feel like so something stood out to me that the pastor said. He said that he didn't get his powers until his mentor was like teaching him, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe his mentor was the guy that was before Thomas. Right, so maybe Thomas's mentor has been doing it since the aughts, right? In the 1900s, and they passed the gauntlet. So maybe there's something that's been going that long, and so maybe we need to dig into his mentor, but there's always been these hairy, men, skunk apes or the snakes. So there's always been that like cryptid part of the revival. So these are directly related. They have to be. We had to figure out why or how. I think that's the next step, is figuring out why these two are related.
How much longer is the revival supposed to go on?
This is you guys have finished the first weekend of the rest of the month, so you have 4 more. That's not necessarily said this is going to be a long campaign. Mm-hmm. It's just like you got 4 more weekends to solve the mystery.
Okay, all right.
So which, but clock. It's a bit of a ticking clock. So at which point Frank, he goes, you know what kind of bugs me? All the stuff at the temple. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Donald Duck stuff's weird. I mean, the church stuff, and the candles. I mean, those kind of make sense, but it's still kind of weird. But okay, so at the bottom of that pit, there's a computer, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's say that this stuff has been going on since like the early 1900s. Mm-hmm. Did they have a computer? Like what purpose does the computer screen serve?
Well, what if it wasn't always a computer? What if there's a new temple every year? What
it was like lanterns or something before.
Yeah, or fucking an old camera or something like that, or something like that. Like I get like we need to figure out why computer though now, why Donald Duck, maybe why he doesn't even change colors. So that's another part. But I don't know if the computer's significant, but yeah, I don't think there's a computer there since the 1900s, obviously. But that is literally quite literally the center of the temple, so that it's obviously holds some sort of meaning. Yeah,
I can only see our path going one of two ways. Then either we take the path I would not like to do, which is disturb the computer ritual site. See if we can figure anything out there, or we try to dig deeper into this pastor and how his miraculous abilities work.
Honestly, it kind of sounds like I was going to say those 3 skunk apes seem like they are his 3 siblings. That's at least what it seems like. That's the obvious thing. We're all thinking, right?
Yeah, them being changed.
Yeah. Right? So what if him getting his powers is directly related to that? So I feel
but then who's Jeremy? Because his younger sibling is
the pterodactyl.
Yeah, honestly, it's funny you say that, but okay, the skunk apes. What if there's his brothers and sisters? That's weird. That's fucking weird. But I mean, my thing is what about the hoop snakes? What about the pterodactyl? Were they people, or have they always been here? It just kind of seems like one step forward, 2 steps back.
Also, what about? I mean, maybe this is too far afield. We know that this revival they go other places, right? Didn't they say that they went? So I wonder if this is something that goes.
Did we ever? Did we find that out? Are you saying,
I thought that they said that they went to other places. I don't know.
He at least implied something along those lines that he doesn't only just do revivals here. He just kind of travels around, but he didn't say anything related to it.
Yeah, and even then, that's a nice trailer. That's a really nice RV he's got. I mean, we could go the whole spooky. He looks really good for his age because of voodoo or some shit. But that's a really nice RV. I mean, it could be money. Plastic surgery. Who's financing
that
this?
From?
Yeah,
it's a good question.
Well, then maybe we need to find out who Jeremy is.
Yeah, but how exactly? How? How do we track down this man? We already had so much trouble just figuring out what we already know. So, Jeremy.
So we did go to the local library. No, we already did.
Yeah, shit. I could literally ask him.
You could. Well, I don't know how that's going to go.
So what if... Okay, so hear me out. What if there was some information in his trailer?
Yeah.
Are you suggesting what I think?
Yeah.
I mean, I got no other ideas. I mean, I'm. It seems as good a one as any.
I mean, I'm a bit with Frank on this one. We've researched and learned what we can, but we need another stepping point to figure out a direction to go.
Did they ever sort y'all's legal stuff, or is that still pending? Just out of curiosity.
We're free to get in trouble again.
Yeah, okay. All right. Just making sure.
Yeah.
I have a letter from my lawyer.
Yes. You were not to get within 300 feet of me. No. So, no. Yeah, it was pretty much cleared up. There was a lot of bogus shit. The sheriff's son was just being an asshole. He was unpunished, of course.
Obviously.
Because in Georgia, the cops don't suffer consequences, as we're sadly finding out. Unfortunately.
And there was no video of what happened to y'all, so.
Yeah, but it was very much just one of those. I mean, it was a pain in the ass in the system, but nobody suffered anything. It was just basically just like an omen hanging over your head for a couple of months. But yeah, it's pretty much past.
Okay.
Perfect.
But yeah, so and at which point Frank goes, so do we want to do the break and enter, smash and grab?
Do you have any experience in that?
I mean, I might be better off as a lookout or something because they're on to me. Me even being nearby is going to throw off flags, I feel like.
Well, wait, here's the thing, though. So, yeah, they're on to you. But me, he knows me. I literally met him face to face, so I feel like it's in our best interest that I stay, good to him, right? So, Peter, hopefully they never even see you coming, right? So, and then Beryl, I'm sorry, but they don't know who you are at all. You're no one to them.
God damn it.
I feel like it only benefits us, and I'm not trying to weasel out. You all never know. I'm not trying to get out of fight, but I'm just saying, for the group interest, I think it's best that I keep my place as a good guy to him, or someone that he can at least, think is neutral.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, and to answer your question, is like, no, I don't know how to be in a building. I'm just.
I don't know, dude. You were in the army. Like, I don't know what you did.
We always think Frank can do things he just has no idea how to do. Like, you've done this, right?
He's like, they don't teach you petty larceny in the army, Beryl.
Well, I mean, sometimes they go into places they're not supposed to go. Like, I don't know what you do.
Yeah, and our key is and the key we use is called a boot.
Okay, all right.
He's like, you remember?
Ask me for not like assuming what you did. I'm sorry.
He goes like, you remember when we got Peter out of there? I just smashed the window.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't have thought of that until later. So okay, fair enough.
Well, I mean, this makes me fairly uncomfortable, but Jeb,
same.
You make a solid point. I think I'll have to think on this a bit.
Yeah, of course, man. And if it makes you feel any better, I can find a way to incorporate myself into the plan, just not in the direct breaking and entering way. I can try to, be the friendly local that wants to pull them aside and distract them for a little while. So I'm definitely I want to be a part of it. I just can't be a part of that part.
And we will move on to one last little bit in the next little chunk.